powers, Philip II of France, who was a scheming pile of shit, Richard Lionheart of England, and Frederick Barbarossa.
How are they?
Frederick Barbarossa, he crossed a river on the way to the Crusades, fell off his horse, and drowned anticlimactically.
How long was he in the Crusades for?
He didn't even make it to the Crusades. He drowned on the way.
How deep was the river? Oh, I know, because he's wearing armor, but like...
There's some records saying that, like, it was, like, up to, like, his calf. Like, there's...
No way.
Like, there's people who write in it, and when you read it, it looks like someone was shit posting. Like, they were just like, oh, he was too fat and fell off his horse and couldn't get up. Or, like, one dude was like...
because he's wearing, like, the super heavy armor, so he's probably, like,
yeah.
trying to, like... Oh,
or, like, one dude was like...
nobody trying to help him?
I guess they did, but it just didn't happen. Or, like, there was one situation where, like, somebody said that he was, like, washing himself in a river. And then finally God was just like, you're done. And that's like an actual, like, fucking, like, like a monk. You want to start it off? This is our opener.
Oh, I'm Bingus.
And I'm Jingus.
And we are Perpendiculous, the only podcast where we stand up in a room. Nobody has ever done this before. Trust me.
I'm actually still, like, unsure about that. Well,
most podcasts aren't video form anyways, so I guess you would never know.
Yeah. Okay. So, welcome to our very first real episode.
Very exciting.
Our topic today is the Crusades.
I don't know if I love the Crusades or not, but I guess we'll have to find out.
Well, you're going to find out. I did a lot of research
Should I?
on this. Yeah.
Morality check. Should I?
Yeah.
Okay. No, should I like the Crusades?
Depends on who. It depends
Not
on
going
which
into
point
that.
of view. Not arguing semantics here. Okay. So, heads up before we begin. We're going to be talking about the Crusades. So, consider this your content warning.
Very nice.
There seems to be quite a bit of controversy surrounding the Crusades in regards to who started it and who took things a bit too far. I'm not going to discuss those things, mainly because, believe it or not, I wasn't there. So I don't really have that much of a input on who started it, who's at blame.
Like who really sunk Atlantis? We don't know.
Yeah. All I can do is provide what I've learned from the sources I've looked into. Obviously, I couldn't scour the entire internet for this. So I had to work with what I was given.
It's pretty good.
I did.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I did the best I could. Cool. Secondly, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, you can go to our description and you can see a works cited. I know, high school. Where you can see all the sources I referenced and looked into. And if you want, you can also give your input if I missed something. And during our December live stream, if you want to bring some stuff to the table, that'd be cool to listen to.
Which I'm sure there's no way you can miss any amount of information.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like I got a good like half, maybe a third.
Do you think if you had a college course on it, do you think you could do like a side-by-side comparison on what you learned in that versus what you learned by just looking on the internet for like
I think that like if I was in a college course, they'd probably like talk about the events and I'd be like, okay, that happened. Yeah, I know about that. I know about this. Like little bits and pieces. But like, you know, the context between each event.
Pretty much I'm asking, is Google a replacement for 4 years of college in a class?
Ooh, that's a hot take. Maybe?
Do you think if you got an essay right now, like 2-page essay, you have to write the events in an orderly fashion and have it consistent have it consistently.
Okay, consider this the spark notes of the Crusades,
There you go.
where I'm not going to go into like each individual detail because that would be boring as fuck.
What
Can I
about
say
the
fuck? I can say fuck.
What about the 11th Lance Corporal of the
I don't know. I'm gonna be real. I don't know. Just because like so much shit happened during the Crusades. So yeah, if you want to take a look at our works cited on our description,
His
you
works
can.
cited.
Well, yeah, mine. And if you want to do your own research, I also encourage everybody to do the same.
I'm doing my next episode.
Also, obviously, I am not a historian, and I do not claim to be a historian.
I want to be a historian.
I just really like history. So I'm not here to like demonize anyone based off of religion, race, ethnicity, anything like that. I'm just talking history with
This
my
isn't
bro.
political.
Yeah, this is nothing to do with that. I'm just
Educational.
providing the information I discovered, and I'm delivering it in an entertaining way.
I'm excited. Are you ready to deliver thine speech?
Not yet. Last but most importantly, this whole situation was absolutely a ridiculous shit show. And there were egos at play. There were political plots being hatched behind people's backs. There was religious manipulation, and there was a bunch of stupid oversights.
That sounds
It was
fun.
all one shit show. Like, for real, for real. The overarching thing that I learned researching this topic, and the thing I want everyone listening to keep in mind, is that everybody was an asshole during the Middle Ages. Say it with me. Everybody was an asshole during the Middle Ages.
Everybody was an asshole during the Middle Ages.
One more time for the people in the back. Everybody was an asshole during the Middle Ages. Good job.
So I don't know if this has to do with the topic, but what do you know the difference between medieval and Middle Ages?
So the medieval era this is kind of just like a rough guess. So you have like the early ages, the Middle Ages, and the Dark Ages. I think the medieval era just kind of covers all those different ages.
Okay. Oh,
Like an umbrella
era,
term.
not age, era.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not the medieval age, it's the medieval era.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Understand now.
So without further ado,
That's kind of crazy.
yeah.
It's like they're breaking it down.
Yeah.
Oh, so unrelated, I might want to talk about this, but yesterday, for some reason, my YouTube recommended feed was filled with like,
Crusades?
ancient like Earth life and history and stuff. And now I'm kind of super into it.
Okay.
It's really neat.
All right, we'll back pocket that for an episode. For all those people out there who are watching this or listening to this, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Overcast, Castbox, public radio, radio public. We're available on like 7 different formats.
Do we have a resume that they can look at?
Go to the Anchor FM page.
Oh, and we have like all our links there?
Yeah,
Okay,
you can access any of them.
Cool.
And then our social medias, we are on Facebook as Perpendiculous Podcast. We are on Twitter at Perpendiculous P. And we are Perpendiculous Podcast on Instagram.
Well,
So if you
all
want
of these useless social media sites that
I
we're
don't know,
never going to use.
Everybody's smart. They know what that means. I don't know. I'm old. I'm 26. So, without further ado, let's kick off this episode.
Are we Sparta kicking our way into this episode, would you say? Does that have anything to do with the Crusades?
I mean, now that you mention it, no.
No. Okay. I thought there was going to be some crazy revelation that, like, the Crusades were 1,000 years in the making, the grand master plan of the ancient civilizations.
No, I was thinking about the Romans and the Spartans, and for some reason my brain connected the two, even though they have nothing to do with each other. They don't.
Okay.
So the first thing that we have to discuss is the Varian disaster.
Okay, that sounds
So,
fun.
You have the Roman Empire, right? Which formed in about 27 BC-ish, right?
Right.
Okay. So they swallowed the whole Mediterranean.
Wait, Rome started in 27 BC?
Apparently.
That's not very. And then wait, what age did they? Are you going to talk about that? What age did or what year did they collapse? Because like, man, they.
Yeah.
I thought they were around for a long time. If they were able to like.
Yeah, you would think.
Anyways,
so the Roman Empire swallowed the whole ass Mediterranean, and they started to push upwards towards what we know today as Germany.
That's cool.
Right?
Which we do. What was it known as before?
It was just forest, plains, land.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to New Land.
Free real estate.
I see.
So now you have the Roman Empire just trying to expand into this area called the Teutoburg Forest. I hope I'm saying that right.
That sounds. Let me see how it's spelled.
Teutoburg.
Teutoburg.
Something like that.
Teutoburg.
Roman historians refer to this as the Varian disaster.
Okay, so it's like the I have a topic like that for my ancient Earth history episode I might do.
Okay.
I forgot what it was. I forgot what it was called. I think it was the Permian extinction or something.
And apparently
it killed like 96% of ocean wildlife. So we'll get into that in another episode. But man, I'm so excited for that.
So 9 AD, there were several tribes in the area of this forest, and they formed an alliance.
Okay.
To strike against the Romans.
Oh, so they were the barbarians?
Yeah.
Cool.
They ambushed the Roman legions.
Right. How many? I mean, I don't know. You probably don't have a specific.
I have numbers.
Oh, do you have like odds numbers or something?
I have force numbers.
Forced numbers?
No, like unit numbers.
Oh, okay.
So first, this defeat, it was a huge kick to the balls for Augustus, who was the first king, first emperor of Rome. And Rome tried multiple retaliations afterwards, and all it did was like establish, okay, we're not crossing this line anymore.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So it basically halted their
expansion north.
Expansion, that's cool.
Numbers wise, according to Wikipedia, the Romans had a strength of somewhere between 14,000 and 22,750 soldiers.
That's not a horrible number. I mean,
the German barbarians had 15,000.
That's pretty equal, I would say. Between, what was it, 14,000, 22,000?
Yeah.
That's not too bad, especially if you have forest cover. It's like playing Civ 6.
It's still a 7,000 unit difference.
I'm just saying, if you're on the hills and you're in the trees, you have like a 50% defense
Well, you also got to keep in mind that the Romans at this point were super, super well established.
Right.
Like, they had armor and shit, and then they got beaten by a bunch of boys wearing fucking sheets. Yeah. Sheets and spears and
tunics.
Yeah, like literally tunics and spears, calling it a night.
Did the Romans call them anything at this point?
Barbarians.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense.
At some point, the Roman Empire, despite not being able to push north, pushed out in other directions.
That's fine.
And it just became too big of an area for it to sustain.
And that's why
the barbarians attacking led to it finally collapsing.
So they went to attack the barbarians so they could get they could manifest their destiny, if you will.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
No.
It's like in like XCOM when you have a 90% chance to hit and your dude just like whips it. It's like, come on, we're supposed to win.
And then on top of this, something else that might have led to Rome collapsing was the fact that the emperor, this is years later.
Okay.
The newest emperor decided to move the capital from Rome to Constantinople so he could be closer to his enemies. No, the Pope stayed in Rome. Okay. And that's going to be important for the next bit I get into.
What was the definitive, like, are you going to talk about the definitive, like, collapse of the Roman Empire? Or was it like a series of events slowly?
It was just a series of events. Okay. They were going through, the barbarian raids.
What was, like, the last day of or last year of the Roman?
I don't have that answer because I think you wanted to go into an episode on that.
Oh, I thought this
on, like, the fall of Rome.
Oh, I thought this was that episode.
No, this is just a Crusades. Yeah, I'm just giving this backstory.
Okay, that's fine.
Because this goes into the Roman Empire falling. Oh, I do have a note on the Empire falling. Nice. So half of the empire collapses somewhere around 397 AD from Italy to Spain.
That's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
That's like So it was from 27 BC to
397.
That's pretty old.
Yeah, so 397 plus 27.
So it's like 410 years old or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good ballpark.
Almost. So okay, well, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. No, this is all good.
How do you decide to start a civilization? Like, all right, I'm going to start the Roman Empire. Do they just a bunch of people gather around? It's like, hey, I'm gonna start this place now, or is it just like, hey guys, look at me, I'm the leader of Rome. Come and visit. Come hang out.
It's mainly like a group of people like establish themselves in a river. They get there first. Right. And then everybody like starts wanting to move over there, and it's like, no, we own this area. If you want to come here, you can, but you work for us.
Right. Okay.
And then it just kind of spreads out where then you have it's kind of like a pyramid scheme.
I guess so.
Where like you have the dude who settled there first, and then he lets some of his buddies hang out, and then they have some buddies who pay them, and then it pays back up to the top, and it is a pyramid scheme.
Gotcha.
So let's see, where was I? Sorry if you can hear that. So half of Rome collapses from Italy to Spain. That area is no longer the Roman Empire.
397, you said?
Yes, 397. And basically everywhere
20 years.
Everywhere that wasn't the Roman Empire kind of dissolved into like small medieval Europe city-states. Okay. Remember how I said the emperor moved the capital?
Oh boy.
Well, apparently that half was perfectly fine.
Okay.
Like didn't collapse, no problems, except it went under a name change.
Okay, what does like the actual what does it mean when you change capitals? Like what is the like super big importance?
The biggest difference is that like I don't know.
Like what? Like if one day they just said, "All right, guys, so we're moving the capital of Washington D.C. to like Seattle or something." Like what repercussions would that have? I'm sure because the buildings that would probably be the biggest issue is the fact that we have all these government buildings there, and now nobody's going to be governing in them anymore.
Well, I know the emperor moved the capital over to Constantinople so he could be closer to his enemies.
Right. I guess that would at that point it would just be like what buildings you have, like historical buildings that you have there set up already. Like this is the capital of our nation. Now let's move it 17,000 miles away over this way.
Yeah. So the other half of Rome, the Roman Empire, went under a reboot where it renamed itself the Byzantine Empire.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Within this area was a small area called Jerusalem.
So they were like Rome, but like segmented or whatever, like cut up?
It was just the other half of Rome.
Oh, okay.
But it somehow had control over Jerusalem, which is going to be the biggest part to the Crusades.
Right.
But then the weird part about it is that the Pope, who's in Rome, he's still the Pope. Like,
right, yeah.
And then with the divide, there became two branches of Christianity, or Catholicism.
Okay.
You had Eastern Orthodox Catholicism, and then
what, the Jehovah's Witness or something?
No, it's just I can't remember the name of it.
Okay. Is it in your notes?
Roman Catholicism, I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Or Roman Orthodox.
Does that not? Do people still follow that?
Both of them, yes.
Okay.
Yes, both of them still exist.
I know the Eastern one does.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think, what we primarily have around here, maybe?
No, I think we do Roman Catholicism instead of East Orthodox. So now Holy Roman Empire forms. New colonies are forming all over Europe as the empire falls. And the biggest area here is called the Franks.
Okay.
Which is going to turn into France. I guess the Pope invited Charlemagne, who was the King of France,
cool.
over to Rome for a big surprise.
For a like a big like buffet surprise, or a big bad like stab in the back surprise?
Buffet surprise.
Okay, good. So like a feast.
So 800 AD. The Pope surprises Charlemagne by saying, "Congratulations, you're the emperor of the Roman Empire."
What?
Yeah, okay. Even though he's in Rome.
Right, and he's in France, which is not Rome.
And he has no connection to the Byzantine Empire, which is like the last fragment of the Roman Empire.
Rome isn't part of Byzantine anymore?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because like I said, Italy to Spain collapsed. And that's where the Pope was.
So How did the Pope like
It
function with all the
It was like this weird like legal loophole that the Pope went through.
that legally dictated that his country could not collapse?
No, it was just like because he was the Pope. I guess he had like just
because like I guess because he's like, oh, I have the godly foresight. Oh, he's giving me a message. It's you.
Yeah.
You're the one who shall lead.
Yeah,
What?
but like
Why?
the Pope had no control over the Byzantine Empire because
Right.
that half he didn't work with, and it wasn't even like Roman Catholicism. It was East Orthodox. But Charlemagne was just like,
Okay.
all right.
That's cool.
So,
So they had like a whole like like the Napoleon being the emperor or whatever, wasn't that like a big deal?
Napoleon, that's way later.
Yeah, I know that, but like, because I think people are like, oh, he's not supposed to be emperor. That's like not cool.
Yeah.
Or something. Like the Pope kind of did like the same thing with that guy.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. We'd have to do an episode on it. So around 900 AD, the Holy Roman Empire forms, which is pretty much like Germany and like bits of France, and it goes south down to like parts of Italy, but not all the way down to like the boot.
The boot.
1071, the Seljuk Turks show up.
Oh, okay, those sound bad.
And they start squeezing against the Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
They take Jerusalem.
For some reason.
Because they're Muslims.
Oh, right.
And Jerusalem is their holy site. But for the Catholics, Jerusalem is their holy site.
Because isn't Jesus in both of those?
I believe so.
So it would make sense that that's a holy site for both of them.
Yeah.
They both follow the same.
But they have like different ways that it happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like one of them, like the God whispers into Moses' ear or whatever. Is that one of them? Or,
That's
that
Muhammad.
Oh.
I think Muhammad has someone whisper into his ear from the top of the mountain. Yeah, you said Moses.
Who's that guy? Is he part of this at all?
He's the guy who split the Red Sea, and no, he's nowhere in this.
Okay.
So the Seljuk Turks are squeezing against the Byzantine Empire, take Jerusalem, and the Byzantine Empire goes to the Pope. It's like, Pope, we need your help. There's a bunch of Seljuks attacking us. We need help. So in Europe...
So pretty much the Pope is in charge, right?
Kind of.
Is that what's going on?
Kind of. Like
Because I know, like, early back in, like, those days, it was just like, oh, religion is, like, the highest authority.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Because it's a direct, like, connection to it.
Yeah. So, throughout Europe, like I said, there were dozens of kingdoms showing up throughout it. Right. And there was mass, like, infighting going on.
Yeah.
So, Pope Urban II, who was Pope during this time, realized that the Byzantine Empire is East Orthodox, which he doesn't like because he's Roman Catholic. So in his head,
going to try to convert the entire
so
nation.
His idea, in the theory in his head, was that if he helped the Byzantine Empire repel the Seljuk Turks, reclaim the Holy Land, he could use it as leverage to make the Byzantines convert to Roman Catholicism. And if there was one enemy, then all of this infighting happening in Europe would then have one separate target instead of fighting each other.
So it's like, okay, yeah, gotcha. So it's like, what's it called? Unionizing for a common goal.
Exactly.
So it's like the Necrons almost.
Yeah. Now, he thought that this crusade was probably going to be like a fast, like in and out, like
no
landslide,
right.
easy peasy.
So it was inside of Byzantine borders, right?
It was the edge of the Byzantines connecting towards like where the Middle East is.
Which is toward like Egypt or something?
No, Egypt is south. We're talking like more towards like Iran, Afghanistan, and like even towards like India, like that way.
Oh, so it's more east than
south.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So,
and isn't it has like isn't it connected to one of the seas?
The Mediterranean.
Mediterranean? Okay.
Yeah. So in his mind, this whole crusade was supposed to be a really fast in and out kind of deal. Yeah. But as we know now, that in and out was going to be 171 years of in and out.
Oh, okay. I thought that would have lasted a lot longer. personally, from how many you've hinted at there being.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not on the level of like 13, right?
No.
Okay, good.
So the Pope just sort of goes with it after the emperor's like, help us.
Gotcha.
And officially kicks off the Crusades. Apparently, before the Seljuk Turks came, everything was decent. There was some kind of like fucked up shit going on from the Seljuk Turk side where they were imposing higher taxes on non-Muslims.
Right.
Non-Muslims had some of their rights stripped away. So there was a little bit of like fucked shit, but overall, like nobody was
like dying.
Nobody was dying until the Seljuk Turks came in and then began
started dying.
Slaughtering.
And then the dying began.
Yeah. In 1095, that's when the Pope started conscripting crusaders to reclaim the Holy Land. He pitched it as a...
go ahead and finish that real quick.
So he pitched this whole crusade thing as a pilgrimage with a little bit of stabbing.
Okay, that makes sense. That sounds about right. So the Romans were the Crusaders, or the Byzantines were the Crusaders?
No, all of Europe spawned the Crusaders.
Oh,
and then would funnel it towards the Byzantine
the European Union that struck at the
Yeah, like the medieval European Union.
So there wasn't any one dude just in charge?
No, so like sometimes like Germany would send some Crusaders down.
Okay, so it's sort
France
of like
the
NATO of Europe, sort of.
Yeah.
Where they like band together. It's like, all right, guys. So my guys are gonna go this way. You guys are gonna go around that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Also, the Pope said that any sins they did before or during the Crusades would be absolved by God.
Okay, hold on. That doesn't.
So anything that you did that was a no-no in the big holy book was going to be aight with God as long as you did the crusade.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know how I don't know why I put this in, but it's just like a fact.
Good.
So you know how throughout history Jews never seem to get a break.
Did that start from them?
Well, we continue that trend during the Crusades with German Count Emiko, who led his soldiers through Jewish cities, absolutely demolishing everyone. This wasn't part of the plan, and some of the bishops who swore to protect them were pretty freaked out by this.
Wait, so were they attacking the place they were supposed to protect?
I don't know.
Try to reclaim?
That's just like something that happened on the way to the First Crusade. The Germans like just ransacked a bunch of Jewish places, and all the bishops there were just like, dude, what the fuck? Because again, the Pope said anything that you do will be A-okay as long as you go through the Crusades. So now we get into, this is before the First Crusade. This is called the People's Crusade.
Okay.
So there was this guy named Peter the Hermit.
Okay.
And he heard about the Pope conscripting crusades and went totally hog wild with it. Like, he went back to his region and was just like, guys, you won't believe this.
Let's go crusade.
Like, the Pope says that there's going to be infinite riches over there. Like, there's going to be all our sins absolved. Like, let's go.
No consequences.
No consequences at all. And so, this fucking dude, like, played the hype man for the Crusades, and like he do a clap. So I guess he thought that Jesus would just protect his group of Crusaders from the Seljuk Turks,
just from all life forms.
Yeah, it was the embodiment of like, I have the power of God and anime on my side.
Gotcha, yeah.
So I guess his Crusader army was completely made up of normal ass people.
Okay.
Like, we're talking like peasants.
How long did this last for?
Teens, elderly, and common housewives with little to no training or equipment.
So it's kind of like the French Revolution. But, yeah.
And, like, when I say no equipment...
It's like they just picked up their sticks and just started
farm tools.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
They went to the Byzantine Empire months before the scheduled First Crusade.
Why don't we...
And they were like, hey, let's go. Come on, we can do this. We got this. And this is Peter the Hermit. Like, come on. Send me out there.
Come on.
Let me at him. No, now, Like I said, the Pope promised that there would be wealth and happiness beyond comprehension for fighting
But
in the
not to
Crusades.
them.
And then on top of being absolved of any and all sins they may have had prior to or gotten during the Crusades, it was a pretty good deal for all the peasants.
Yeah. Because, yeah.
Who are thinking they're basically in the clear to do whatever they want as long as they've reclaimed the Holy Land. So on the way to the Byzantine Empire, they were raiding places like Hungary.
Like not places that they were supposed to be.
Yeah, like on their way to the Byzantine Empire, they were just like ransacking shit.
And that's not the area that they're supposed to be crusading anyways.
No.
So they're literally just a bunch of like pirates. Just,
Yeah. So they
cool.
they go down to the Byzantine Empire and they're like knock knock, and he's like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Let's go." And he's like, "Maybe we should just wait a bit." And then the peasants started looking at the Byzantines like, "Oh, we could pillage this while we wait." And
like,
so
what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
No, yeah, the emperor's just like, what are you doing?
So the emperor was just like, "You know what? Go right ahead."
He did not care. All right,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. It's funny.
So the excited go-lucky Crusaders were then sent south to engage with the Seljuks. They proceeded to get absolutely slaughtered by their very first battle they went to.
Because they had like horses and stuff, I assume. And
Yeah, and like, actual weapons.
Yeah.
Those who weren't killed were instead sold into slavery by the Seljuks.
And like, I assume they had like a 100% casualty rate or something.
Like a 99.9% casualty rate.
Did Peter the Hermit survive?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because in my notes here it says everyone except for one guy who joined the armored Crusaders later on.
Which was Peter.
Peter the Hermit.
Maybe him.
A major oversight in this entire concept of the Crusades, like in general, was that Emperor Alexius, who was the emperor of the Byzantine Empire,
That's cool.
he desperately needed the help,
Right.
but
But he was too
he
desperate.
didn't have the money, housing, or resources to house as many Crusaders as he thought he was going to get.
Yeah.
Like, he thought he was only going to get, like, maybe, like, a group of, like, 10,000 dudes. And what ended up happening is that, like,
Wait,
nobles...
so they literally... So it's like with Germany, I think it was in World War I, where they sent these letters to Mexico being like, hey, Mexico, you want to start beating up on America to distract them? And they're like, what? No. Hey, America, check this out. It's like, oh, no. It's like one of those where, like, they're literally, like, it's like a mass, like, mercenary. Like, hey, guys, you want to go capture this land for us? Hey, everything, all sins you have committed now or until the end will be completely erased.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the
Nice.
emperor thought that, like, he was going to get, like, 10,000 dudes or whatever.
Right.
And then, like, nobles would end up getting their entire region of dudes.
And it's like, dude, this is so worth
let's
it.
get money and, like, let's fight for Jesus.
Yeah, okay.
And so, like, he ended up getting, like, triple the amount he was expecting, and he did not have the resources for this.
Gotcha, yeah.
So this is, like, mainly, like, one of the reasons why people suggest that the Crusades were as big of a failure as they were.
Right. I thought they weren't, well, from what little information I do have, I thought they weren't, like, super bad, it turns out. Well,
No,
obviously they were bad, but, like, I thought they weren't as, like, as big of a fail as, all the memes are.
No, they were pretty fucking brutal.
Okay.
And, like, the biggest thing pointing to their failures was just, like, a huge lack of organization.
That makes sense.
Like, they all knew, like, what their goal was. They just had different ideas of going about it.
Yeah.
And nobody, like, wanted
So
to...
that's kind of like the downside to not having just one giant nation, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, now we are officially kicking off the First Crusade.
Oh, boy. What
Which
year?
started off in 1096.
Okay, cool.
Either a few months after or during the People's Crusade.
Okay.
It was actually a huge success.
Okay.
They had somewhere between 60 and 100,000 Crusaders on their side.
That's a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Mainly because, and the main reason why this was a huge success is because they weren't actually fighting the Seljuk Turks. They were fighting the Egyptians.
Which are already kind of on the downhill.
Yeah.
So
Somewhere during, like, the... while the Pope was conscripting all these dudes, the Seljuk Turks and the Egyptians had been clashing in a constant back and forth of skirmishes.
So the Egyptians were caught in like a war of two fronts type of deal.
No, like this is like the Byzantine Empire is like, hey, Pope, can you send dudes? And the Pope's like, yeah, sure. And then like he's like, you guys, come on, like let's do this. While he's saying let's do this, the Egyptians are like, we're gonna attack the Seljuks. And so they attack the Seljuks.
Gotcha.
And so the Egyptians are the ones who have hold of Jerusalem when the Crusaders arrive. Now, the Seljuks, when they saw this massive army of Crusaders coming around, they were just like, hey, Egypt, good luck. And then they just turned their backs on them.
Oh, and they didn't want to get...
They didn't want to deal with it. They're like, better you than me.
Why are the Egyptians getting attacked?
Because they have the Holy Land.
I thought the Seljuks did.
They did.
Oh.
But then while the Pope was conscripting all the troops, the Egyptians attacked and took
totally
it.
Weren't part of the this was an unfortunate side product.
Yeah.
It's like all right, so we're getting ready. All right. Hey, Saint John Peter, are you ready to go? Yes, sir, I am. All right. Philip D. Jones, are you ready to go? Yes, sir. All right, perfect. Hey, Egypt, what do you... All right, guys, change of plans.
Yeah. So yeah, literally, like the Seljuks were just like they saw the Crusades.
All right,
and they're like, good luck.
Like, all right, I think we're ready to go, everybody. And the Egyptians have the Holy Land. Change of plans.
Yeah, same goal, different enemy.
Whoa.
So also during this crusade, I guess like all the Crusaders kept finding like artifacts that were mentioned in the Bible. Like they literally found
the blood rag or whatever.
Yeah, they found the spear that like pierced Jesus during the crucifixion.
So they had a forensic investigation.
No, like they were just like walking through, and then like they tripped over all these biblical like artifacts, and they were like, "Oh, this fake? Gives us motivation."
Are they fake?
I don't know.
Oh, well, because like
I said, like
did they design a specific spear to poke him with, or was it just like
a spear that was bloody?
Like, hey, check this out.
A spear that was bloody, that was buried.
Did they do like forensic like evidence
no.
checks? And like, dee.
Of course they didn't.
What about his like sandals or something?
Maybe.
Hey,
like
guys,
I said,
check this out.
They were just finding all kinds of crazy shit, and like it was just giving them huge morale boost. So they were just like, "Let's go for the crusade!"
That's funny.
Oh, and then remember Peter the Hermit?
I do.
Well, I guess they found him along the way.
Oh.
And he was joining the Crusades.
Was he all like banged up or something?
It was a little dinged up, but he joined the Crusades for one battle.
Okay, what happened?
He proceeded to flee.
Okay. So I know in realistic warfare, the morality has a very, very big part of it. Like in video games, like in Star Wars video games, you have all your guys stand there and the other guys shooting there. If your squad dies, then, well, that's whatever. But in like a real life battle scenario, if let's say you have a group of 10 guys, if like 5 of them die, the other guys are going to run away.
Yeah.
They do not want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
the actual routing of troops makes up, I think, more losses than actual deaths do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, wow, this is getting serious. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Peter joined with the Crusaders, and then during their first battle, the Crusaders were, whooping ass, and Peter was just like, I gotta get out of here.
So they weren't even losing. Peter
no! Peter just left.
So he wanted to join at that point?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was still wanting to be a part of it, but then he saw actual Crusaders fighting, and then he was like, I gotta go.
How'd he do?
So he fled, and then he was captured by one of the European Crusader leaders, and then was cycled back into the battlefield.
So was he actually a good fighter?
No, apparently not. Anyway, this is just a hilarious callback.
That's fine.
I couldn't find anything on where he died.
I think Peter is the main character of the Crusades. He's
at least the first one. There's nothing saying what happened to him when it comes to death. One suggestion says that he returned to France after the Crusades and then just died.
Okay.
But I
after the first one or all of them?
After the first Crusade.
Okay.
So after the Crusaders, totally had this huge victory. They ended up setting up 4 Crusader states:
Gotcha.
Antioch, Edessa, Tripoli, and Jerusalem.
Those are the.
Those are 4 Crusader states.
So they pretty much just hang out there, get to eat, get to sleep and stuff. It's like, all right, guys, time to continue our.
No, like pretty much like as soon as they captured those 4 and established those
started,
states,
like, living there?
they won.
Oh,
That was the point where they were like, this was a huge victory.
Wait, okay, gotcha.
So
they did win.
Yeah, they won the first crusade.
Okay.
But
so
then
why?
But then after their
Seljuk Turks
victory,
came back,
they
didn't
looked at all the city states. They're like, okay, you guys are Christian. Keep it that way.
Oh, right,
Bye.
because they're like, they're like, hey, you guys are Roman Catholic now, like we promised. So see you later.
Yeah.
They're like, what? We don't want.
No, and then the guys are like, okay, cool. And then they're like, you're going to stay here and protect us still, right? Right? As all the Crusaders are leaving back to Europe because all their sins have been absolved.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Wait, so literally the Crusaders were just abandoned mercenaries. They're like, hey guys, you want to go get like.
No, they reached their goal. So they were like, okay, time to go back home.
So then, but wasn't the point to get it back and keep it?
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No, because they have families back home that they have to go back to.
I guess so.
So they recaptured it.
Were there any heroes of the Crusades that excelled
Yes.
the 3 kingdoms or whatever? Where they were just dudes
Yes, we will get into them.
Okay, cool.
So I guess
Excited for those.
after they left, the Seljuk Turks
just
came back.
It was just like, hey,
they
what's going
recaptured
on, old
everything.
chums?
Who would have fucking thought? And I guess after the Crusaders left, the first city-state or Crusader state to fall was Edessa. Like, it immediately fell as soon as they left. Like, I don't even think they made it back home before it collapsed.
Gotcha.
Now we get into a little sidebar, which is about the Knights Templar.
Here we go.
So, sometime in 1119, during the First Crusade, the Knights Templar was formed.
Right.
They apparently created a very basic form of banking.
Okay.
Like, they invented banking.
That's cool.
So
Or people would put their money in, and then it's like, hey, we're going to borrow this, but we're going to pay you back.
I'll get into it. It's really interesting how they do it. So I guess after Jerusalem was taken, bandits, highwaymen, and Seljuk Turks would often raid and murder traders and missionaries on their way to Jerusalem.
That's cool. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Huh.
So this led the king of Jerusalem to create a monastic order to protect the pilgrims.
Okay.
The first order...
Just the pilgrims, not Jerusalem, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, protect... Yeah, it was formed in Jerusalem because
Okay,
he's the
cool.
king of Jerusalem.
Oh, good for him.
They suggest that the...
So was he the king of Jerusalem the whole time that they were getting
I don't know if they established that after the First Crusade.
That's what I was thinking.
Because later on, the Queen of Jerusalem plays a big role in one of the Crusades.
Cool.
But as of now, there's a king in Jerusalem.
Okay.
There is belief that the headquarters of the Templars was built on top of the Temple of Solomon.
Okay.
But basically, the king created the order, and the first order was composed of 9 knights.
9 whole knights, or 9 segments of knights.
9
whole
armored
dudes?
knights.
Whole dudes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, including himself, or in addition to himself?
No, he was not a Templar. The king was not a Templar, but he designated 9.
So there were 9 dudes just hanging around a table and hey, you want to go stop these pillagers? Let's go. Okay.
And these Templars, they kicked ass.
Yeah.
So much so that they were treated as an organization.
Even though there was only
9 of them.
Okay, wait. Okay.
So they were offered land, money, and noble children and businesses for all this work that they were doing.
Okay.
And hella people coming up hey, let me join. Come on. I want to do this.
Can't really do that.
And the first person who is thought to make their donation is Pope Innocent II, the guy who was conscripting all the Crusaders, Roman Catholic Pope. he apparently donated a massive amount of money to the Templar, which, due to this donation, it somehow meant that the Templars were basically hit with diplomatic immunity.
Because of how much money they had, because they're basically nobility now.
And because they got it from the Pope.
Right. Cool.
So
they could pretty much do whatever the fuck they want.
They could cross into any border that they wanted to.
Oh no!
They weren't required to pay taxes.
So they literally got like, oh no!
And essentially,
they basically got a out of jail free card, but they got like a printer for them, and it's just like, hey.
Basically, as long as they didn't undermine the Pope, they were good. They were like the Pope's like fucking shock troop.
That's crazy.
Army.
But they were like 9 dudes.
They started with 9.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, I'm like, only 9 dudes? Like, yikes.
So from here, the Templar became a force of shock troopers, and they were often deployed to key fights, decked out in their heavy armor.
So is the knight armor with like, you know, the helmet,
the bucket helmet,
the cross shape, and like the shield with the like
the red
the leather
cross.
And like the no, it's not gambeson, but like that leathery type of like undershirt with the chainmail on. Is that like historically accurate, or is that just like a video game thing?
I believe that's accurate.
Okay.
A lot of the pictures I saw were showing that. Okay, so I don't think that was just like
just for aesthetic. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
I'll talk more about the Templar later on, because this is kind of like just establishing them. But now it's time for the Second Crusade.
Okay, cool.
So the Second Crusade, right off the bat, absolute disaster.
Like, not good at all?
Like, the Pope changed the goal, and he was super vague about what their new mission was. And like I said, Edessa just, like, collapsed immediately.
Yeah.
And since the Crusaders didn't really know what their goal was, it just led to them getting absolutely train wrecked.
Gotcha.
So fucking bad that when the Crusaders got to Edessa, they ended up turning on each other.
Okay.
Like,
so,
just from like...
It's like infighting on their own?
Yeah, because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
So who do we start killing? Each other? It works for me. Whatever you say.
Now, the two big players in this Second Crusade was King Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany. Go
ahead. King Louis VII?
Yeah.
He's from Civ 4, right?
I believe so, yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good or is it the... I think it's XVI, isn't it? Or is that someone else?
I don't know.
Okay, anyways. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, a lot of German... So, these are the two big players, right?
Yeah.
Now, Germany. A lot of, like, local Germans, like, they were hearing about, like, this new crusade kicking off. And they were like, hey, what about all these pagans that are, like, here in our borders? So they go to the Pope demanding that they launch a crusade
against their own
nation? Inside of their borders.
That's funny.
And the Pope is just like, okay. So sure as shit, the Germans just start fucking killing all these dudes inside.
Wait, so they need to ask permission before going on a crusade? Is that like a trademark? Like,
because if the Pope gives the thumbs up, then you get the
and all the bonuses. You have to ask permission. Like, hey God, can these guys go on a crusade? Oh yeah, okay, go for it. Woo!
Yeah, so all these Germans were just like stomping like their neighbors practically.
Dude, it's like the Red Scare. Like,
hell of.
That's funny. No, it shouldn't be, but.
And then since the Pope gave this thumbs up, Conrad was like, okay, we'll send this other group of crusaders down to the Holy Land.
Gotcha.
Simultaneously, Louis was creating his army. And when he had enough forces, he physically went to Germany to be like, hey, Conrad, are you ready to go down there? And I guess like one of Conrad's like advisors came up and was like, he already left.
Did he?
He did.
So where did he go? He was going to do like his own.
So he was going with the Crusaders
to The
to
rest of
reclaim the
Germany?
Holy Land.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So that was the main goal, right?
Yeah.
And they have all these like side quests where it's like, oh, hey, Germany's having its own thing going on, and okay, gotcha.
So Conrad leaves Germany.
How late was Louis?
It didn't say, but like he was late.
Okay.
So he was over there, and then the advisor's like, "Yeah, Conrad already left."
He's gone.
And then Louis like, "That bastard! He's taking my glory."
Oh, because it's like, well, I want religious.
I have to be the winner.
Yeah. Oh, wow,
So
that's funny.
Louis threw a fit and had a bit of an ego trip, and he sent his army down to chase after Conrad so
And
he could
thought, let me guess, they thought they were attacking or something.
No, there's nothing.
Okay,
I
good.
wish, but no, it's nothing
imagine,
like that.
Man, that would be so funny. You just see a bunch of dudes run over the house like, sir, I think we're getting attacked, but that's the French. All right, whatever.
So the Germans, they reached the Byzantine Empire first because they left early. And the ruler was freaking out because all these Germans were just pillaging and ransacking the city.
Gotcha.
Because again, religious immunity.
Wait, religious immunity. Oh,
Or sin immunity.
gotcha. Thank you.
So yeah, literally the.
Okay, so what happened to Knights Templar though? Did they come back?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I do talk about them later. Just as of right now, think of like them establishing the banking, getting the 9 knights, and like protecting all the
doing
things.
something.
That's all happening during this. So the emperor of the Byzantine empires decided to call the Seljuks and said, "Hey, the Germans are here with Crusaders. I'm just letting you know."
So was this supposed to be like a warning? Like, oh, you better be scared. They're coming.
No,
This is like,
no.
Hey, they're coming. You might
No,
wanna get
literally,
out.
like he made pretty much like a small alliance with the Seljuks
What?
because the Germans were ransacking his empire.
Oh, because of because they're like a bunch of radicals or something.
No, because like they had religious immunity, so they could do whatever they wanted.
So it was literally just like okay.
So it was like literally like, "Oh, I'm broke. Let me get some money." So they break open into someone's house, take their money, and then they're like, and then
So
they're
is
like,
this even part of the Crusades at this point?
this is the
Or are they
build
just
up
being
to it.
assholes?
They're just again, everybody was an asshole during the Middle Ages.
Jeez.
So Conrad decided
world.
Conrad didn't know that the emperor made this
Well, yeah.
tiny alliance. So he decided to split his armies and attack 2 separate battles because he just had that much manpower. The main group followed the same path as the First Crusade because it worked the first time. It should work the second time. And it was almost completely wiped out, resulting in Conrad retreating as Louis was entering the Byzantine Empire.
So pretty much Louis trying to chase after Conrad, and Conrad's just like every time like Conrad closes the door, Louis on the other side. It's like, where'd he go?
Yeah.
Like he turns like run down the street, he turns through an alleyway. Louis keeps just like, where'd he go? Like one of those. Okay.
So the French come into the Byzantine Empire, right?
And then they start
ransacking the city. So
the same city that just got pillaged before.
well, Constantinople, or like just like the Byzantine Empire in general. So the emperor's like, Conrad's already
Gone.
winning
Oh, wait. Were they doing that to tease him?
to get the French out. Because he already knew that Louis was like super like egotistical about the whole thing. So he's like, yeah, Conrad already left and he's winning. So
like he's
Louis
got
was
more
like,
points, so
that
he's like,
bitch, quit stealing my glory.
That's funny.
So he bolted to Antioch while Conrad was in the middle of retreating from Edessa. So they're retreating like
Toward each other?
no, they're pretty much like as Louis is leaving, Conrad's coming in from a different.
Right. Okay, yeah, so it's like a...
Yeah. So Louis goes south, Conrad went east. Kind of deal.
So Louis is literally chasing down Conrad right now. It's like, hey, you better get back here so I can get to your face and tell you how much better I am. And it's like,
Yeah.
where am I going? And then Conrad's just like lost, kind of like, what? Does he have a game plan?
Cool.
Conrad, does he have a game plan?
Yeah, it was to take the Holy Land, but then he got stomped.
sidetracked by...
No, he just split his armies up. That was his
Okay.
big fall. Is that he split his armies up and didn't realize there was an alliance. So
Yeah, but the first problem is that he started ransacking the Byzantine Empire for some reason, and they didn't like that very much.
Yeah.
That was his first big mistake.
So Conrad's retreating, and the emperor actually invites him back.
Like, hey, bud, can we talk about this?
Which left Louis alone when he was going down to Antioch.
Which is where Conrad was.
Right.
And
or no, Conrad was in Edessa.
Okay.
So basically, the big plan, the reason that Louis went to Germany in the first place was to strategize.
Okay.
The idea was that they were going to combine their armies and
they
then
could just
go
have
down.
A giant kill wave.
Yeah. But Conrad left early, and then Louis followed, and then Conrad, when he gets to the Byzantines, separates his army into two. Gotcha. So then Louis, he goes to Antioch. Conrad comes back from Edessa, and yeah, Louis is now abandoned in the middle of a fucking holy war without half the dudes that he was expecting to have. But surprisingly, Louis was just accepted into Antioch. Like, he got there and everyone was like, yeah, come on in.
Wait, was he not allowed or something? What happened?
I don't know. It just says that...
Or why would they not have just invited...
Because it was the Seljuk Turk territory.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, they just let him come in. And so Louis, he thought this was going to be an easy crusade and decided to bring his wife with him.
Don't bring the missus.
And he left her there. He left her with the Byzantines, and she ended up having an affair. Okay. Or no, he left her in Antioch, and then, like, when he went... I guess he went to Antioch, like, left his wife there, and then went further south to go fight in Crusades. And she ended up having an affair with the king of Antioch.
Who was a Seljuk?
Who was... Possibly.
Okay.
And this completely demoralized Louis, who immediately lost all morale and seemingly abandoned the crusade.
Yeah,
he was just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
Meanwhile, in the Byzantine Empire, Conrad was having a great time and eventually sailed off for Jerusalem.
Sailed?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's across.
Yeah, because you can just go down and over. The leader of Jerusalem offered Conrad troops to reclaim the city of Damascus, which wasn't originally part of the plan.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
That city.
Meanwhile, the Seljuks ended up combining and creating an anti-Christian coalition. So two, like, revered generals basically were just like, let's combine our forces. And they seized Damascus. So that is what Conrad was up against.
And then
the Germans attacked Damascus, and they were actually doing pretty okay. But
and then something bad happened.
The Seljuks started bribing the Crusaders.
Be like, hey, why don't you go back that way?
And no, like, they would be like, hey, have some money, have some armor. Just tell everybody how hopeless this fighting is from this side. And so all the Crusaders
so the
are like,
is just...
yeah, so all the Crusaders are like, it's hopeless. Oh, money. It's hopeless. I'm so rich right now. It's hopeless. It's not going anywhere.
That's horrible.
And so finally Conrad was like, okay, let's split this group up and attack from this side then. And what ended up happening? Pretty fucking bad. So several Crusaders rerouted from the main group to attack from a different angle.
So do kings actually go out with their boys and start, like, fighting with them?
In this situation, yes.
So they do, like, start... Are they, like, fighting? Or they're, like, standing back, like, all right, you go that way and you...
A little bit of both, it seems like. I don't know for sure, though. But the way they make it seem like it could be kind of like a Dynasty Warriors situation.
Where, like, this is just, like,
cleaving
through, a bunch of dudes. Man, I can't imagine.
So the attack from the different angle, that ended up...
Well, I think I know why. So if you're a nobility, that means you have a lot of money, which means you can buy a lot of food. So if you're well-fed, you're pretty healthy. You know, you maybe, I don't know if they have like weightlifting or something, or like some sort of like exercising. If you're well built, if you're going up against like peasants who have like stick bones and, you know, they just ate their loaf of bread for the day, you know, dehydrated or whatever, they have clumps of metal on these stakes and they're trying to whack you. I guess it would be easy to just like smash through them.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of makes sense why leaders would be more,
with the fighting,
or well, not just that, but also more like, why don't just get like swamped by like 20 dudes because there's just like
yeah.
Gotcha.
So this reroute that Conrad ordered, it ended up being a huge mistake because it was super resource heavy and energy costing.
So they were trying to like fake leaving and then come.
No, like pretty much Conrad was like, okay, we're sieging this side of the city.
All right, let's try this side.
And then everyone's like, it's hopeless. And then he's like, okay, this half go around and attack from this side then. And it was
the same thing.
And then it's like, it's even more hopeless. And finally, Conrad was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going home. And so he just left.
Okay. Like
with his Crusaders.
Like, all right, we'll see you later. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Crusaders got stupid rich off of that, I assume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the Knights Templar armor is different than the Crusader armor, right?
Yes. I believe the Crusader armor was just kind of
Is it kind of like the one where it's like, it's got like the metal cap with the little flaps on it?
Maybe. I think it was just kind of depending on like where you were.
I guess.
Because the nobles were the ones that provided the armor and the weapons.
Gotcha.
So whichever noble you were working for, that was the one that you crusaded with, and that's the one who provided your equipment.
Yeah.
Which is why Peter the Hermit wasn't very good because he didn't have any kind of.
He was one of the peasants that that Conrad was finding just slashing.
Yeah. Do a clap. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, I guess Louis never left. So he made it to Jerusalem and then just didn't leave.
And then just hung out?
He wasn't fighting anymore, but he hadn't gone back to France yet because he was waiting for reinforcements. Due to the failed siege with Conrad, there was a lot of mistrust between all the different European nations at this point. So no reinforcements ever came. Oh. And finally, Louis was just
he thought that the Germans were behind it or something?
Yeah. So basically, Louis was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. And so literally, everybody just gave up and went back to Europe.
Okay. Well, so they didn't like fail. They just didn't succeed.
So it was considered a failure because Damascus and Jerusalem weren't really reclaimed.
Right.
They were like, Louis was invited into Jerusalem or Antioch. Yeah, Antioch. So since nobody ever made it to Jerusalem and claimed it, it was considered a failure.
And no, because that was the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we go into the Third Crusade.
Are the rest of these going to be like as long as
they get shorter as I move forward? Okay. This is like the last long one because this one's regarded as the meat of the Crusades.
Gotcha.
This is where you have people like Frederick Barbarossa.
Oh yeah.
Richard Lionheart and Philip II.
Oh yeah.
And Saladin.
Okay. All right, let's get this started then.
So the Third Crusade is regarded as the meat of the Crusades. A third Islamic faction formed, which was run by Saladin, who had rallied several different regions, including places like Syria and Egypt.
So what happened to that anti-Christian coalition thing?
That got absorbed by Saladin.
Oh, so now it's like a super anti-Christian coalition.
So Saladin basically went to Egypt, went to Syria.
So he basically united the
different separate Muslims under one banner.
Did that last very long?
Yeah. Actually, this is the strongest that they've ever been at this point.
Okay.
So he successfully took Jerusalem. He took all the places with ease. Just fucking landslided them. And then this caused the three superpowers, Philip II of France, who was a scheming pile of shit, Richard Lionheart of England, and Frederick Barbarossa.
How are they?
Frederick Barbarossa, he crossed a river on the way to the Crusades, fell off his horse, and drowned anticlimactically.
How long was he in the Crusades for?
He didn't even make it to the Crusades. Oh. He drowned on the way.
deep was the river? Oh, I know because he's wearing armor, but like,
There's some records saying that like it was like up to like his calf. Like there's
No way.
like there's people who write in it, and when you read it, it looks like someone was shit posting. Like they were just like, oh, he was too fat and fell off his horse and couldn't get up. Or like one dude was like
because he's wearing like the super heavy armor, so he's probably like
Yeah.
trying to like, oh.
or like one dude was like,
nobody trying to help him?
I guess they did, but it just didn't happen. Or like there was one situation where like somebody said that he was like washing himself in a river, and then finally God was just like, you're done. And that's like an actual like fucking like a monk wrote that. Like there's a lot of fucking like speculation on how he drowned.
That's crazy.
But the fact is he didn't make it to the Crusades.
Well.
He drowned on the way. So Philip of France, like I said, was a scheming pile of shit.
And Lionheart?
Lionheart is actually like a fucking Chad.
Okay, cool.
Like he and
With a
Saladin,
name like Lionheart, you have to be, right?
he and Saladin are on equal terms as far as like general like
Gotcha.
military
Like, okay.
theory and knowledge.
Gotcha.
So Philip of France ended up catching dysentery early on in the Crusades. After Barbarossa died, but
Still.
before they actually got to the Holy Land.
Man, that's so sad.
So he's like, I got to go back to France. And then this leaves Richard Lionheart alone. Richard started shit talking the fuck out of Philip. Like, oh,
What
you're
about
a
Barbarossa for drowning?
Well, like that just happens.
Okay.
This is like, oh,
No, it doesn't.
I have
You
the
don't just
sniffles.
drown
I have
in
to
the
go home.
river. You don't just drown in a river.
I don't know. Maybe he was buddy with Frederick. I don't know how it works.
Okay, gotcha.
All I know is Richard was talking the fuck out of Philip.
So, from what I understand so far, the French are kind of like,
Bitches.
yeah.
Self-righteous fucking egomaniacs. Like I said, egos were at play.
Oh, I don't
And
feel so
everybody was an
good.
asshole during the Middle Ages.
Except for Lionheart.
Lionheart was actually cool. So,
Heck, even Conrad wasn't like.
no, Conrad
horrible.
was pretty good also.
Yeah.
So
I'm finding my mains for
Yeah.
my big favorites before they get cast down by the hand of God.
So Philip goes back to France, hears that Richard's been talking shit about him, and runs to the Pope. And he's basically like, Pope, Richard's
picking on
talking
me.
shit about me. He's calling me a bitch. And the Pope
bullying.
looks at him and is just like, well, maybe you should stop being a bitch. So now Philip's just like, I'm going back to France. So he like weenies his way back to France. Where he realizes that now that Richard's gone, he's like,
England's
hey,
like
there's
total-
a lot of like southern assets I can get from England. So he invades England. And also
Meanwhile, Richard's just like,
he talks to Richard's brother and is basically like, hey, you should be king. And Richard's brother's like,
does he know who this guy is?
John, that's his name, King John.
Does he know who the French guy is?
Yes.
So it's like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna listen to the words of some foreign man that came into
But no, like literally, like Philip was just like, you should be king. And King John was just like, I should be king.
Does he speak French? Do they both speak French? Do
I
they both
don't
speak
know.
English?
Probably. I mean, they're close together.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting how, like, how different nations would, like, what do you call it? How they would, like, communicate or whatever, or, like,
Diplomacy things.
Yeah,
You'd
yeah.
probably have some kind of translator,
Okay.
you know, even back then.
probably just hire one.
Yeah. So after King John took the crown, he was kind of naive and young and didn't really know like how to do the shit that king needs to do.
Yeah.
So Philip took advantage of this and then began to invade. And
just invade before.
I don't know. Oh, because with a new king in
It would have
charge,
been
it would have created more disorganization on the England part. So Richard,
So technically, it made it worse than if he would have just attacked normally, because then it would have been like, Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And because of France invading England and Richard's brother taking the crown, Richard catches wind of this down in the Holy Land.
How? Like someone on a boat just like...
Messengers, word of mouth. I mean, I don't know exactly.
How long would it take for Philip to start ransacking before Lionheart caught wind of it?
A couple months, probably.
Okay. Gotcha.
Maybe a year. But basically...
I know, like, the warfare goes kind of slow. That's why they last so long, is because messages travel slowly.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, yeah, that makes sense.
So, because of this, Richard had to leave the Crusades because his brother was taking his crown. France was invading.
So, did he actually start the Third Crusade yet? Or was he still on his way?
He was like in the meat of the crusade.
Okay, gotcha.
When he caught wind of this. And I'll jump back into like actual like battles and stuff that he was part of. But now
he comes back.
It's time for the Templar bit.
Oh boy. So they didn't do a whole lot in the Second Crusade, did they?
No, they were mostly just doing what they were initially
gotcha. They were keeping to themselves, kind of. Okay.
Yeah. So now let's take a moment and discuss SEAL Team Jesus, aka the Knights Templar. Okay. Apparently, during a major battle with Richard Lionheart, the Templars arrived and came in so fucking clutch. Like, the Templars had amassed beyond their 9 originals.
Wait, so he brought Templars with him?
No, like he was in the middle of a battle. Like they were starting to get overmanned,
and then
over the ridge, the cavalry came, and it was the fucking Templars coming in. And I guess like they had to have had at least 500 members by this point, because records show that during a battle called the Battle of, I'm gonna butcher this, Montgisard, Montgi.
It's almost Montesgard, but it's not.
Yeah. 500 Templars joined the fight and aided several thousand Crusaders in defeating Saladin's army of more than 26,000.
So they had how many?
So they had at least half.
That's crazy.
Like, maybe even like, probably like close to like 7,000
That's crazy.
units. Plus with the 500 Templars. And when those Templars came in, they decimated
So those are
Saladin's
like the
army.
elite of like, those are like a big deal.
And that's why I say SEAL Team
so
Jesus.
those are like the Space Marines of like the medieval ages or something.
Like, yeah. The primary mission of the Templars was primarily militaristic, and they were sworn to individual poverty, which means they surrendered all of their assets.
Oh,
but
so
then
like,
everything...
wait, the Templar did?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you know, if it's just like, oh, here's a reward for your great crusade. Here, take this award. It's like, no, I'll give it to like the Pope or something.
You give it to the organization.
Okay, gotcha.
So like any donations that you would receive, you would pass to the order.
Okay, so it's like I don't want to say like a charity, but like
It kind of is, yeah.
Gotcha. Where does that money go? To get new members and stuff?
To get more money, to like better your equipment. Basically, the order decides where the money goes.
It's like a military fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy. And then because of this, say a nobleman wishes to join the Crusades, they would often surrender their assets to the order. And this is where we're getting into the banking thing. They would give their assets to the order while they were away on the Crusades. That way, when they were fighting in the Crusades, they wouldn't be a target, because they're broke while fighting in the Crusades. But then when they return, they would pay a fee, and then they would get all of their assets back.
Okay, that's cool.
So the order would maintain and protect.
So it is a bank. It's like okay.
It's like a very like
basic bank,
medieval form of banking.
That's cool though.
Yeah. And then upon returning, the Templar would return.
Yeah, so they're just collecting like interest on like their. Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. And then this mixed with donations, it created a solid financial network throughout any Christian area.
That's
so
crazy.
like you could be in Hungary, you could be in England, France, Germany, wherever. And as long as you find your local chapter, you could donate to them, and you could give your assets to them and go fight in the Crusades.
So it's like war bonds.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so that's like that's so neat. That's really interesting.
Yeah. However, the Templars, as we know, would not last. Okay. By this point, they had 3 separate orders that split from the initial one. One of them is the Hospitaliers, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. And then there was 2 other ones I'm blanking on because I didn't put it in my notes. Dumb. But basically, they were having many like differences between each other, and they were often clashing.
Yeah.
And then this combined with a series of failed battles during the Crusades, with nobles who had no intention of joining the Crusades. Those guys were shit-talking the Templars, saying, you guys are too goody-goody. Like, you guys are little bitches, pussies. But then it's like, why don't you fight? And they're like, nope, I'm good. This would ultimately lead to their downfall, which I'm not going to go any further. This is kind of the end of my Templar bits.
Okay.
Now we're getting back into the Third Crusade. So like I said, Richard and Saladin, they were on equal levels when it came to like military knowledge and like theory and like battle practices.
Gotcha.
And
so
soldier morale.
What was that one picture of them sitting like together?
I will get into that.
Okay, cool.
After a lot of skirmishing, and with France and John doing their shit, that's what led to that picture that you've seen.
Gotcha.
Where Saladin and Richard Lionheart are together making a peace treaty.
Oh,
And
okay.
Basically, that treaty, it was a last resort because France was stabbing him in the back. And it was like, I have to go and, take care of more pressing matters. So
at this point, was the Byzantine Empire even in charge of the Crusades still?
Not quite, no.
Okay.
Now, it kind of went from like the Byzantines to the Pope calling for crusades. But the Byzantine Empire does play a massive role in the next crusade that I get into. So Richard Lionheart leaves in September of 1192. And what's crazy about this is that if Philip wasn't doing the shit he was doing and Richard stayed, Saladin would have literally died 6 months later.
Huh?
From illness.
Wait.
So basically the reason that they had to come to a peace treaty is because they were both constantly like equaled out, so much so that neither one could surpass the other.
Yeah.
And then with all the shit happening back in England, Richard was like, I have to go back. I have more pressing matters. Can we make a treaty? And Saladin's like, sure.
Okay.
But if Richard had waited for 6 months, then in March of 1193, he would have died from a mysterious illness, and then Richard could have absolutely wiped the floor with everything. Because Saladin was like the fucking top dog, and he's the reason why it was such a hard battle.
Yeah.
So yeah, literally, the Third Crusade...
Yeah, but do you think England would still be England if you waited 6 months? Like, would it be like French England or something? Or French...
Yeah, no, like, basically what I'm saying is that Richard leaving and, like, this crusade failing is entirely Philip's fault.
Gotcha. Yeah,
like, 150% Philip's fault.
So you're telling me Lionheart, like, single-handedly fought in
most of the battles of the Third Crusade. It was deemed a failure because Jerusalem was never actually taken back. Right. The treaty basically said that Christians could come into Jerusalem as they wished.
Oh, so basically don't do what you've been doing the whole time.
But then on top of that, non-Muslims would still have to lose their rights, pay taxes, and all of that.
Wait, what?
Wait,
who are the ones who were originally getting the short end of the stick? Like during the First Crusade when they were getting...
That was the Christians.
Okay. The ones who were getting like...
The taxes.
Like heavy taxes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was just...
Because Saladin had...
So basically it was just flipped?
No, it was the same situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, it was like Christians can come here. They have to pay taxes and they don't get rights.
Okay.
That's it. And then Richard's like, okay, whatever, I gotta go.
Gotcha.
So because Jerusalem...
So is that bad news?
Well, because Jerusalem wasn't taken, it was deemed a failure.
Right.
However, everyone started looking at Egypt now because that's where Saladin came from.
Go. Oh. Okay.
So they saw that and they were like, oh, so that's where the problem's coming from.
So the Egypt is still an empire at this point, right?
I think so, but I'm not entirely sure. So there was a bit of crusading throughout northern Africa after this was realized, until the Fourth Crusade kicked off. It's worth noting that this is commonly referred to as the Unholy Crusade. So I guess they realized that it was hot walking around the Mediterranean because you had to go from Europe through the Byzantine Empire and around to the Middle East to get to
Egypt.
Yeah. Or not Egypt.
Jerusalem.
And like the Middle East area.
Gotcha.
So they decided this time we're going to use boats.
Okay.
And they were able to create one of the biggest fleets ever seen since the Roman Empire.
Wait, so this is the biggest fleet up to this point?
Yes.
Like in history?
Oh, I don't know if like current day, if it's still the biggest fleet, but at least like as of the time period, this has been the biggest fleet.
Okay.
So the Fourth Crusade, it was mostly French soldiers who were led by a wealthy Italian merchant.
But wasn't Christopher Columbus Italian? But he went to Spain and said, "Hey,
Portuguese.
Okay.
But then he went to Spain.
And it was like, "Hey, can you fund my research or my exploration?" And it was like, "Yeah, all right, that sounds pretty good."
So the French came down to Italy, and they met the Phoenicians, who had created the ships for them. But the Phoenicians were like, "You have to pay us up front right now."
That's
all the Crusaders are broke.
So
the Phoenicians strike a deal with them, and they say, "Hey, there's an area over here that we want. If you claim it for us, we'll get you to Egypt for free."
Gotcha.
This area.
So it's a side quest.
Yeah, but this area that they targeted was a Christian area. So the Pope heard about this
and was like, "No,"
and excommunicated every single Christian or Crusader and the Phoenicians from the church. Basically,
so they can't pray or whatever.
You've been kicked
banned,
out of the church.
From church.
You've been banned.
Wait, so they actually tried doing that?
Yeah. No, they tried. They failed, but they tried. They weren't able to seize the area. Let's see what was the area. Let me see if I noted what the area was. No, I didn't note it.
Okay.
But they failed to claim the region. They attacked it, but they weren't able to seize it. And the Pope ended up excommunicating everybody involved. And basically that means now God isn't going to forgive you for everything you do during the Crusades.
So they all just left?
No.
Oh.
Alexis is the emperor now. Byzantine Emperor Alexis III.
Wait. Oh, so that means they can't wait. So they can't do whatever they want, but they're gonna do whatever they want anyways?
They're gonna keep trying.
Because they don't need to worry about...
Because they still believe in God.
Okay.
And they think that maybe like if they capture the city, like if they win, maybe they'll be forgiven. You know, which is a very like realistic and like, you know, that
I guess so.
Could be. I don't know how strict the popes were.
I don't know how religion works.
So Byzantine Emperor Alexis III offered to pay the Crusaders to reclaim Constantinople.
Which was not the same area as... As the Phoenicians wanted, not the same area?
No, different area. And since they were excommunicated, they were like, okay, sure. Now, Alexis was kind of a shit ass, and he didn't have much of a plan on how to pay them. So he was like, come to Constantinople, you know, I'll cover everything, and then we'll send you on your way. And basically, the Crusaders were all just kind of chilling in the Byzantine Empire, just waiting for him to get the money.
Boats.
Yeah,
Waiting
for boats or any kind of transportation.
How long would it have taken them to go around rather than waiting?
It might have been quicker. But Alexis was never able to pay them because a guy named Mortzuflos.
No, come on. No, what did this guy do?
Mortzuflos?
What did
He assassinated
No!
Alexis.
No!
And took over.
What did that guy do? What else did he do?
That's all that's noted.
About him?
Yeah.
About Mortzuflos?
Yeah, he just showed up, stabbed him, and took over.
Like, we don't even get a backstory on this guy?
Nope. And so now the Crusaders are stuck.
Wait, this is the fourth one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now the Crusaders are stuck in Constantinople. Like, they can't...
Did they call these Crusades at the time, or is that just what we call them now?
I think that's what we call them.
Okay.
Sorry,
go ahead.
So they were stuck here because they didn't have enough to return back to Europe, and they didn't have enough to push forward further into the Holy Land.
So they just stayed in Phoenicia?
No, in Constantinople.
Okay.
So this group of Crusaders decided, fuck this, and they proceeded to ransack Constantinople,
which, by the way, is the capital of
the Byzantine Empire. And they pretty
what
much
lasted longer, the Roman Empire or the Byzantine Empire?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would think the Roman Empire, but I can't make... Actually, no, probably the Byzantine Empire.
Wait, right, because when were they formed? Were they formed after
during
the
420? Split. When the split happened.
Which was after the Roman Empire got broken apart?
Yeah.
Was it like right after, or was it like... Well, obviously not right after, but like...
Well, like I said, the Roman emperor moved the capital, and then the half that didn't have the capital on it collapsed.
Because they weren't near the capital.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Well,
how come the western half of America didn't just like...
I don't know. I don't know how this shit works. But yeah, the Crusaders pretty much took everything they could get their hands on. And the biggest kicker is that they never saw the Holy Land. So
that wasn't even a crusade.
It's still considered a crusade.
They were setting up for it and then just like, we lost. Let's do something else.
Yeah. So you'd think that this would tell Europe that, hey, maybe this crusade thing doesn't fucking work. You think they'd think that, right?
Oh, honestly, no, I'd expect them to keep trying.
Well, that's exactly what happens. Now we get into the Children's Crusade.
Okay, so first of all, yikes. Second of all, I think I watch a couple like medieval like history channels. Mm-hmm. They talk a lot about like the how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
And like how the actual like how that well, so I think maces were more common than swords, like for just standard infantry.
Yeah.
That they used during that era. So I think they had a lot more like, like morning stars rather than like swords.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something.
That's cool.
Honestly, do you just want to make season 0 the history season? Should we do
I'm
it
down.
like that?
Whatever.
Okay.
We can do whatever. Okay. It's our channel.
Yeah, that's
our
true.
podcast. So now we're in the Children's Crusade. These are all going to be short.
Okay, so is this like... Are we talking like Three Kingdoms War, like Children's Crusade? Like,
let me just... It's literally a paragraph.
Okay.
So apparently sometime between the 4th and 5th Crusade, Pope Innocent III...
Oh, so this isn't technically a whole ass crusade. This is just like a side...
This is like the People's Crusade situation.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
So Pope Innocent III, not the second.
Who's not innocent, from what I can tell.
Had this absolutely brilliant idea. Why don't we send a bunch of French and German kids to go fight in the crusade?
Because they won't want to kill kids. Duh!
Apparently, he just threw a bunch of child crusaders onto boats and then just sent them to Jerusalem.
So, like, he thought... I assume his thought process was, those soldiers over there wouldn't dare kill a kid. How'd that go?
The kids never made it to Jerusalem. They had a pit stop in Italy and were all tricked and kidnapped and sold into slavery.
By, like, the same person?
By the Italians.
Just by
Italians.
By all the Italians?
By just slave traders.
The Italian government?
No, just slave traders.
That's horrible.
They were just like...
Wait, were they like... Wait, but they weren't like... The kids didn't have any, like, adult, like, leaders?
No.
It was just kids?
It was just kids.
That's horrible. That's so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big... Like, so, like like so you see like a timeline of like human history. There's like a bunch of like, oh, you know, it shows like pictures of, and there's just like a small like black spot. There's like, oh, I wonder what that's about. I don't know. Oh, that's part of the Kids Crusade. The what? Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, like
Yikes,
all that did was just feed the fucking slave trade. Like, dude, that's all horrible. It did. Yeah, super fucked.
You know what else I realized? Italians are also no.
Am I gonna cut this out? This part.
Can't if you want. Oh, go ahead.
So now the Fifth Crusade was mostly fought with Hungary and Austria, with notable figures such as Vlad II.
Not the same one as
not Vlad the Impaler. Vlad the Impaler is the son of Vlad II.
The third.
Yeah.
What did Vlad the Second do? What did Vlad the First do? Whatever. Anyways.
What's crazy about this crusade,
The sixth,
is that,
or no, this is the fifth.
The fifth.
Okay.
They were fighting towards Egypt along the Nile River, and they were actually doing pretty fucking good.
Okay, cool.
Like, so good that Egypt was like, "Hey, do you guys just want Jerusalem?
Did
Like, we'll give it to you if you just
it's like,
quit
yeah, but they'll take the fun out of it.
No, and literally,
they'll take the fun out of it.
They turned it down because they thought they could achieve better successes
with just taking it themselves.
They then proceeded to have a series of modest victories and then were ultimately defeated.
Oh man.
They wound up being forced to sign a peace treaty saying they wouldn't attack Egypt for 8 years and were forced to retreat.
Forced? By who?
By the Egyptians.
Did they like really like mess them up? It's like, hey, sign this paper. It's like, I don't know, you want to get executed? Okay, fine.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not how diplomacy works. Hey, if you don't want to die, you sign this paper saying you won't kill us for a while.
Yeah.
Wait, but why would I want to?
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, they were kind of shit asses. Like,
you know.
Assholes.
Hey, yeah, everybody in the Middle Ages was an asshole. Okay.
Okay. Well.
Sixth Crusade. Did you have something you wanted to say?
I don't know about that one.
It's a short one.
Did Vlad 2 have any like tremendous feats of his own?
There is some stuff about Vlad, but I don't want to bring it up yet.
Okay.
I want to back.
Do you just want to bring up Vlad's family like in the Vlad episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, there's a Vlad episode coming out.
Yeah, I think season 0 is the history season.
I'm down.
And then we can do season... We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So the Sixth Crusade was the only crusade where there wasn't any fighting.
Gotcha.
It was actually... Like, there was like small skirmishes probably, but overall it was pretty peaceful. Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II was able to somehow marry the Queen of Jerusalem.
Okay. By forcing her to sign a peace treaty or she'd get executed?
No, hold on. Now I'm reading the context of this. So I guess he sent a group of crusaders down, ransacked the city, and then they were like, have the queen and
so they just kidnapped her.
Have this city and the queen in exchange for peace.
The crusaders? Or the king?
The emperor. Or so the emperor like attacked Jerusalem, and then Jerusalem was like, "Here, just take the queen and have peace." And then Frederick was like, "Okay." So he accepted it.
Frederick?
Frederick II, emperor.
You mean? Oh, okay. I thought you meant Frederick Barbarossa.
No. Like, he dead.
No, wait. Is he the second?
No.
Or is he just
the first? Okay. I think.
I don't think he lived.
I mean, this is the Sixth Crusade. You know, like this is way later.
Gotcha.
So. Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II accepted this offer and was crowned King of Jerusalem in 1229.
Okay.
He then went back to Germany, and surprise, surprise, Jerusalem was retaken by the Seljuk Turks 15 years later.
So, like, are the Crusades like? So when I think of like when I think of years 500 AD to like 1400 AD, which is when we start moving to like the Western world, I don't really see it's kind of like blurry. Is that what was happening like the whole time, basically?
Yeah.
Was that the gap that filled the Was that what the events that filled in that like 1,000-year gap?
Possibly.
That's crazy.
So now we get into another little side quest bit that I found kind of interesting. The Mongol Crusade.
Okay, this is not funny anymore. This isn't funny.
This is hilarious. Just when you thought shit was getting wild, apparently sometime between the 6th and the 7th Crusade.
So this isn't even an official crusade. This is just them doing their own thing.
There were crusaders that were fighting.
Okay, define a crusader. Are they specifically from Europe?
Somebody that the Pope says, you guys are in the clear. You guys are soldiers of God.
Okay. So it's anybody, not just... So
the Pope has to sanction it.
The Pope has signed off that the Mongolians are officially like a part of the crusade.
Yeah. They said, basically, they're like, you guys are now sanctioned by God to fight the Mongols and anything...
Fight the Mongols?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. I thought Mongolians joined them.
Oh, no.
Oh.
No.
Oops.
No. The Mongols started ransacking...
They were pushing west.
Yep. They were ransacking Poland at this point.
That's really far.
Yeah.
That's too far.
And then Crusaders went toe-to-toe against the Mongols. It was a rather short crusade, and the Germans forced them into retreat. But overall, I'm not sure if you could really call it a crusade. I mean, the Pope sanctioned it, but it was more of just like a couple battles happening in Poland.
Gotcha.
I just see it as another layer to add to the shit stack.
Do you know that Poland is a pretty big, like...
area.
Well, not just area, but like pretty important in just like history in general.
Yeah. Okay. The 7th and the 8th Crusade were both headed by the same dude, so I grouped them together.
Perfect. Is there any major differences?
One of them is funny. The other one is even funnier.
Which one's funny?
The 7th.
Okay.
So...
okay. So which crusades were technically successes?
The first one.
That's it?
That's it.
So, yeah, all you need is the crusade. You just need, hey, the crusade, they won.
Literally, if they stayed there, they would have won. But they left. And then it fell.
So, did they have any, like, leaders leading them? Or was it just the crusaders running
I think they established they must have established a monarchy.
No, but I'm saying, like, did the crusaders, like, have any, like, leaders from specific nations? Or were like, all right, guys, you go over there and, like, just a bunch of, like, wild, like, crusaders just ran out and started
the
whacking.
Pope would be like, rulers, we're doing a crusade. The rulers would be like, nobles, we're doing a crusade. All the nobles would be like, everybody, we're doing a crusade. So everybody would listen to the nobles would listen to the leader would be in charge.
So would they just tell them, hey, go in and fight for these guys, and they would just go without any
German
further...
crusaders and French crusaders, you could combine the forces, but you would mostly listen to your noble if you were a soldier.
Okay.
And if you were a noble, you would just listen to your leader.
I guess so.
So King of France, Louis the 11th.
I have a quick question that's kind of off topic. What counts as a, or how do you define a noble? Is it like, or like, how do you become one? Do you have to like donate a bunch to the city or whatever? Or
so nobles were often just like rich people that were part of like the kingdom.
Right, but they didn't have any like diplomatic power, or did they, because they were so rich?
No, they definitely had some diplomatic power.
Okay.
Or not diplomatic, political power.
Because they were so rich, it's like, oh, I can make the rules.
So basically, say like, so nobles would often like pay taxes to the king, you know, and then they would have their region where they would have servants, knights.
Oh, so they're like governors.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then knights were below them.
And then
who
they had
acted as like enforcers.
And like police and...
Yeah, and then you had the peasants who did all the work.
Okay.
And then basically all of monarchy is a pyramid scheme.
Right. Okay.
Like peasants pay the knights pay the nobles pay the king.
Or isn't it the other way around?
So everything goes up, and then the king at the top decides how much gets reimbursed back.
Gotcha.
So
Oh, so that's why the King of France during the Revolution or whatever was just like, I'm gonna spend all my money on parties and cake and celebration.
Yeah.
It's just like, boy, we're eating bread.
Yeah.
Help us.
yeah, so like however much the king gave back, that determined how strong of a kingdom it was and how good of a king you had. So that's why like with the Magna Carta,
That dude's like not cool.
yeah, that king like horrible. But then like, you know, like a generous king who like gives, you know, an equal amount back.
Like Lionheart?
Really successful. Right. I don't know for sure how like
Gotcha.
Lionheart's payment scale was.
Yeah.
But depending on how much you put in, you would most likely
That's
get
cool.
a decent bit
Yeah,
back. So that's
continuing on.
so that kind of just followed into the Crusades.
Gotcha.
So King of France Louis the 11th.
And this is the 7th Crusade?
Yes.
Okay.
He fought in 2 crusades. And these crusades are both considered to have accomplished absolutely nothing.
Okay.
In the first one, okay, so first for a kickoff, Louis was a religious fanatic. And during the first crusade, he managed to find himself captured in Egypt and was held for ransom. So they paid the ransom, got him back, and then he's like, let's do another one. So then he went into the 8th crusade, and somewhere during it, he was killed by a wave of dysentery that spread through his camp in 1270.
That's awesome. So literally nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Except
He
we have a
kidnapped.
dead king.
Yeah, we have a dead king, and we lost money.
That's
This
cool.
has all been a net loss.
Gotcha.
And
Wait, did he just do that himself, or did he ask the Pope for permission again?
I don't know.
So does that
All I know
count
is that
as
he
a
was-
crusade?
Huh?
Does that count as a crusade?
Yes. He must have been sanctioned by the Pope because he was able to do 2 of them. And they are called the 7th and 8th Crusades. And we get into the 9th Crusade. And this is the last one. And it's short. Basically,
What year is this? So we have a
1271.
so
So one
the
year.
line of popes just kept like funding these massive like what is the okay? It's the Pope's fault then. Like
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Well, it's like I said in the very beginning, the Pope thought he could use it as power to like flip the Byzantine Empire. But I think at this
That's
point,
so
like
goofy.
he was just butthurt that he kept losing, and he's like, "We gotta
Can we
win,
win,
one."
please?
Did
they win this one?
uh,
Well, let's get into it.
yeah. So the Ninth Crusade, this is the last crusade as we know.
Or
Official crusade.
officially
There might have
speaking.
been like smaller skirmishes afterwards,
Gotcha.
but there was never a big wave of crusaders going down after
Gotcha.
this. It was led by Lord Edward, who would later become King Edward of England.
That's cool.
He went to the Holy Land in 1271 and returned less than a year later due to more pressing matters. And what I noticed is that this is the second time that's come up. The first time
With the
was-
England having to come back?
yeah,
the English?
like both the first time I read this, it was with Richard Lionheart because France. So I guess Edward also had more pressing matters to deal with. Many of the crusading outposts. So I guess during the Crusades, they'd had set up like outposts and bases,
Gotcha.
and these would just kind of collapse within a span of a few years. And eventually, everyone just realized that it was too expensive and a waste of
just
time
stopped.
to keep launching crusades. But it only took them 171 years to piece that together. Yeah, 171 years.
I thought it was longer than that.
New.
That's still pretty long though.
Yeah.
Like
So yeah, that was the whole ass history of the Crusades.
that's cool.
What are your
there any
thoughts?
last, or do you have any lasting like tips or not tips? Sorry, any like facts or anything about like maybe like the aftermath or something?
Like I said, the
Like
whole
the political turmoil of Jerusalem trying to get captured over and over again.
I didn't really look into that. No,
Okay.
that was probably like an oversight on my part.
No, that's okay. That's,
But all like literally, I just did it because like it was just fucking hilarious.
okay, gotcha.
Dude, like you had fucking peasants running in there.
Yeah.
Like you had fucking like it had everything involved.
Yeah.
You had fucking Germany.
Mongols somehow?
You had Mongols
Like-
thrown in the mix. You had children being sold as slaves. You
Which
had-
wasn't part of the plan, but it happened
no.
anyways.
There was the Phoenicians involved.
Which
there was
is-
Jerusalem.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, you get like the big players like Richard Lionheart and Saladin.
And
You have stupid backstabbers like Philip II.
oh,
Yeah, it's fucking great. Over all of them, I would say my favorite top 3 Crusades.
it would have to be okay. It'd have to be like the first 3 are the most eventful, right? Like,
Well,
hands down.
okay, just thinking about like the events that happened. For my personal like favorites, third one will always be number 1.
right.
Second
Which
favorite.
one's the second? Is the one?
The second favorite, I would say, is probably the People's Crusade, just because it's fucking hilarious. And
And then the children's
no,
because it's
the Fifth Crusade.
which one was that one again?
The Fourth Crusade, where they ransacked Constantinople.
Oh yeah,
That
was the one with the Phoenicians too, right?
yeah, that's the
Fifth-
one where
which
like
one
the
was
Pope.
the fifth?
That's the one where Hungary and Austria like
Recap.
attacked Egypt, and Egypt was like,
Yeah.
"You can take the
so
Holy
that one,
Land."
That one was pretty not bad. I kind of like that one.
That one was good.
Yeah.
That one's definitely like top 5.
Okay.
Um,
Out of 9.
what was your favorite?
I like the fifth one. Like, it
fifth
didn't have a
one?
lot of information in it, but like, and this was just like how many nations were involved in?
Just the 2 plus Egypt, so 3.
Okay, well, that's not. Yeah.
But literally, that one was just look. If you're already winning, like take Jerusalem, and then they're like, "No, we can do better," and then they failed.
Yikes. They're so close.
Should have taken the win.
It was almost a success.
Yeah. You got anything to add? Any questions?
Actually, I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah?
At teaching.
Cool.
It was pretty good.
Okay.
We are very late. Oh my.
No, this is perfect.
No, but remember the first. Remember the first stuff that we have to add because we paused it.
It's still good.
Okay, it's still gonna be like 2 hours.
Oh,
Okay. Well, enjoy whatever happens.
hold on. You gotta.
I do not have any lasting questions.
Okay. So nobody guessed the lighter question. That's a shame.
I have
This is
I do have one lasting thing. Do you think we could ever bring back the Crusades? Do you think we could do like a magical 10th? Not us specifically, but do you think they would ever bring back a?
So conspiracy theorists, well, not really conspiracy theorists, just like. So people mostly think that the war in Afghanistan,
Is the
that would have been like the Gulf War, that would have been considered the 10th Crusade, but it wasn't sanctioned by a pope, so
Yeah,
no.
that's dumb.
Yeah. Now, for the time we've been waiting for, the lighter question. Yeah. So, in the last episode, I said I had a lighter.
It's not green.
It was not green. It was not black. Shout out to Tyler, though, for guessing.
Wait, who guessed black?
Tyler guessed black.
Who guessed green? Didn't someone guess green?
Someone did guess green.
Thanks to you, guesser, for guessing.
Hold on, I can pull it up.
Do it quick.
I'll do a clip.
Do it quick. Why are you opening Spotify?
It was an accident.
Goofy.
Because my podcast is on Spotify.
Dude, okay. Wait, they commented on the actual...
On Spotify.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you can post questions and then... Yeah. Come on. Shout out to... Okay,
Gene.
do a clap. Okay, so...
Thank you, Gene,
Time for the lighter
for-
question. So, I had a lighter in my pocket, and I asked what color it was. It's not green. Shout out to Gene, though, for guessing.
Gene Green.
And it's not black. Shout out to Tyler for trying to guess. It was blue.
And this isn't a switch up, by the way.
This is not a switch
I can
up.
confirm.
It was blue. So now I'm going to slip a new lighter into my pocket. Ben, Bingus, will
Yes.
you verify?
Jingus.
Okay. This is the new lighter that is now in my pocket.
Are we doing this every episode?
Might as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. If you can guess the color, you will get a shout out.
Okay.
And yeah.
I'm I think this is gonna season 0 #history season. I like the ring of it.
I'm gonna make that the hashtag.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
We'll see you in the next episode for whatever I come up with because I kind of have to reorder something.
Well, we don't have to.
We can really like the idea.
We can talk about whatever.
I know, but I really like the idea.
All
of
right.
Do you think that'll
No, 'cause-
diversify our audience?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think so. Let's do the
just whatever.
vroom vroom man.
The vroom vroom.
You know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
of course I do, because
I'm
it's
just
the next
keeping it a
episode.
secret for them.
Okay.
All right. I'm Jingus.
Spring Hill Jack. And we'll see you in the next episode of Perpendiculous.